One night to 9,000 stores were open. The next morning, they were gone. No warning, no goodbye, no second chance. And the decision that killed them? It happened in a single meeting, in a single room, with a single laugh. At its peak, Blockbuster had 9,000 stores worldwide, 84,000 employees, 65 million registered customers, $6 billion in annual revenue. It was not just a store. It was a Friday night ritual for an entire generation, a cultural landmark so deeply woven into everyday life that nobody, not even its own executives, believed it could ever disappear. And then, in less than a decade, it was gone. This is the complete story of how the most powerful entertainment empire in the world was built from a single idea, conquered the entire planet, and then laughed itself into extinction. And why, even today, millions of people feel a grief they cannot fully explain when they think about it. Part 1. The world before Blockbuster. To understand what Blockbuster meant, you first have to understand what the world looked like before it existed. The year is 1982. Home video is brand new. VHS tapes have just started appearing in American households. And people are stunned by the idea that they can watch a movie at home on their own television, whenever they want. But there is a massive problem. The stores renting these tapes are a complete disaster. Small, disorganized, family-run shops with no systems, no inventory, no consistency. You would walk in hoping to find a specific movie and have absolutely no idea whether it was available, checked out, or never stocked in the first place. The person behind the counter would shrug and say, "Check back tomorrow." For most Americans, going to a video rental store felt like a gamble. And most of the time, you lost. The industry was fragmented, chaotic. Sitting there, waiting for someone smart enough to fix it. That someone was about to arrive. Part 2. David Cook and the idea that changed everything. The year is 1985. Dallas, Texas. A man named David Cook has just sold his software company, and he is looking for his next move. His wife Sandy suggests video rentals. David is skeptical, but he starts studying the industry, and what he finds is remarkable. Not because the industry is strong, but because it is so completely broken that anyone with basic technology could dominate it overnight. David Cook was not a movie person. He was a data person, and he saw immediately what nobody else had figured out. The problem was not the movies. The problem was the information. He spent months building a custom software system, one of the most sophisticated retail inventory systems that existed at that time. Every tape cataloged, every rental tracked, every return logged in real time. On October 19, 1985, the first Blockbuster video opened in Dallas. Over 8,000 square feet, more than 8,000 VHS titles, organized, clean, bright, professional. For the first time in history, a customer could walk up and ask, "Do you have Back to the Future?" and get an instant, accurate answer. On the very first day, the line of customers stretched around the building and down the street. By the end of the first week, David Cook knew he had not just opened a video store. He had created something entirely new. Within 2 years, Blockbuster was across Texas. Within 4 years, national. By 1990, a new Blockbuster store was opening somewhere in America every single day. Every single day. Part 3. The Golden Era. What Friday night really meant if you grew up anywhere in the world during the late 1980s or 1990s. You know exactly what Blockbuster Friday felt like. And if you know, then you understand why this part of the story is the hardest to tell. Because what was lost was not just a store. It was a feeling. And feelings, once gone, cannot be streamed. Friday afternoon, the anticipation would start building around 3 p.m. Something in the air would shift. The school week was over. The weekend was beginning. And somewhere in the back of your mind, you were already thinking about it. After dinner, the whole family would pile into the car. Nobody needed to say where they were going. Everyone already knew. You would see the sign from blocks away. Those massive blue and yellow letters glowing against the evening sky. And something would happen in your chest. A kind of excitement that is genuinely difficult to describe to someone who never experienced it. You walked through those doors, and you were hit by everything at once. The cool air conditioning, the bright fluorescent lights, the rows of VHS cases, color-coded by genre, stretching out in every direction. The smell of fresh microwave popcorn mixing with the faint plastic scent of 1,000 tape cases. And then, the most important ritual of the week began. What are we watching tonight? Couples debated in hushed, urgent voices. Kids ran to the new release wall, pressing their faces up against the cases of movies they had been waiting months to see. Parents tried to find something that would satisfy everyone, an impossible mission that somehow, most of the time, succeeded. You would pick something up, read the back, put it down, pick up another one. A stranger next to you would say, "That one is really good. We watched it last week." And you would trust them completely because in Blockbuster, everyone was on the same mission. The staff knew the inventory like a sommelier knows wine. They had opinions, recommendations. They would lean across the counter and say, "If you like that one, you absolutely have to try this one." And they were almost always right. Saturday mornings, the store would fill again. This time with people returning last night's movies, swapping opinions, laughing about the ending, arguing about whether the sequel was as good as the original. Blockbuster was not a transaction. It was a gathering place. A weekly ritual that entire communities shared without ever consciously deciding to share it. At its absolute peak in 2004, Blockbuster had 9,094 stores operating in 25 countries, 84,000 employees, and over $6 billion in annual revenue. $6 billion. From renting movies, it seemed to everyone who worked there, shopped there, or competed against it, completely and totally unstoppable. Part 4, the late fee that built an empire and planted a bomb hidden inside Blockbuster's $6 billion empire, was a number that nobody talked about publicly, but everyone inside the company knew it. $800 million per year. That was how much Blockbuster made from late fees. Every time a customer returned a movie even one day past the due date, Blockbuster charged them a penalty. And those penalties added up to nearly 1/5 of the company's entire annual revenue. On paper, a genius business model. In reality, a time bomb with a very long fuse. Because customers did not just dislike late fees, they hated them with a specific personal burning intensity that went far beyond normal consumer frustration. Every late fee felt like a punishment for being a loyal customer. Every charge felt like a betrayal. Every trip to Blockbuster that used to feel like a treat started feeling like a trap. The resentment built slowly, quietly. For years, millions of people paying their late fees, smiling at the counter, and quietly deciding that one day they would find something better. That day was coming faster than anyone at Blockbuster headquarters realized. Part 5, the $40 decision that changed the world one afternoon in 1997. A man named Reed Hastings returned a copy of Apollo 13 to his local Blockbuster. It was 6 weeks late. The late fee was $40. On the drive home, furious and embarrassed, Reed Hastings started thinking, what if there were no due dates? No late fees? No trips to the store? What if you could rent movies and return them whenever you wanted without ever leaving your house? By the time he got home, the idea for Netflix was fully formed in his mind. Within months, Reed Hastings and his co-founder Mark Randolph launched Netflix as a DVD by mail subscription service. No due dates, no late fees, flat monthly rate, return whenever you want. Everything that Blockbuster had gotten wrong, Netflix built its entire identity around getting right. $40. That is the precise amount it cost Blockbuster to fund the startup that would make them obsolete. One late fee, one angry customer, one drive home, and the entire future of home entertainment changed direction forever. Part 6, the meeting that changed history. The year is 2000. Netflix has been operating for 2 years. Fewer than 300,000 subscribers. A small DVD by mail curiosity that most industry analysts assumed would disappear the moment internet speeds improved enough to stream video. Reed Hastings requests a meeting with Blockbuster's corporate leadership in Dallas. He flies in, sits down across the table from some of the most powerful executives in entertainment retail and makes his offer. He proposes a full partnership. Netflix handles the online and mail-order side. Blockbuster handles the physical stores and brand recognition. Together, they build something that dominates home entertainment for the next 20 years. The price, $50 million. Blockbuster's executives laugh. Not a polite, dismissive laugh. A genuine room filling this dash is dash the dash funniest dash thing dash we dash have dash her dash all dash year laugh. Because the idea that this tiny startup with 300,000 subscribers posed any threat to a company with 60 million customers and 9,000 stores seemed genuinely absurd. Reed Hastings flew home and went back to work. That $50 million company, the one they laughed out of the room, is today worth over $280 billion. And the executives who laughed spent the following decade watching everything they built go dark. Store by store, city by city, sign by sign. Part 7, the man who almost saved everything by 2004. The warning signs were impossible to ignore. Netflix was growing at a rate that made Wall Street nervous. Digital platforms were cutting into foot traffic. The internet was moving faster than anyone predicted. A new CEO named John Antioco finally decided to act, and he made the decisions that together absolutely should have saved the company. First, he eliminated late fees entirely. Gone. No more penalties, no more resentment, no more $40 charges sending customers home to found multi-billion-dollar competitors. Second, he launched Blockbuster Total Access. Customers could rent DVDs online, delivered by mail like Netflix. But with one advantage Netflix could never match. When done, they could return DVDs to any physical Blockbuster store and walk out with a free in-store rental. It was brilliant, and it worked. Within 18 months, Blockbuster Total Access was growing faster than Netflix. Reed Hastings later admitted publicly that he was genuinely worried that Blockbuster finally had found the strategy to beat them. For one brief shining moment, Blockbuster was winning again. Part 8, Carl Icahn and the Final Betrayal. And then the company's own board of directors destroyed everything. Carl Icahn, a powerful activist investor, had acquired a large stake in Blockbuster stock. He did not care about long-term strategy. He cared about short-term numbers. And those numbers, with late fees eliminated and total access running, looked terrible on paper. Even though the strategy was working perfectly, Icahn waged a brutal public campaign against Antioco, made the boardroom a war zone. In 2007, Antioco resigned. A new CEO with zero entertainment background was installed. He immediately slashed total access, reintroduced fees, and publicly stated in interviews that are painful to read today that he did not see Netflix as serious competition. Within 6 months, everything Antioco had built was dead. Netflix's growth exploded, and Blockbuster began its final irreversible collapse. In 2010, Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy, nearly $1 billion in debt. The blue and yellow signs went dark across America, Europe, Australia. An entire generation watched in real time as the landmarks of their childhood disappeared, one by one, without warning, without goodbye. Part 9, the last Blockbuster on Earth today. There is exactly one Blockbuster store left on the entire planet. It sits in Bend, Oregon, open since 1992. And somehow, against every possible expectation, it is still open today. The store has become something nobody planned for and nobody could have predicted. A destination, a pilgrimage. People fly in from New York, California, Texas, just to walk through those doors one more time, to stand in the new release section, to hold a DVD case in their hands, to hear the familiar sound of those automatic doors sliding open. The manager, Sandy Harding, has become one of the most famous retail managers in the world. Interviewed by publications on 6 continents, the store sells its own merchandise, t-shirts, hats, membership cards that serve absolutely no practical purpose, and yet people want them desperately. And every single night, when Sandy locks the door and turns off those blue and yellow lights, she is doing something that 9,093 other stores used to do. Something that felt permanent. Something an entire generation believed would always be there. Part 10. What we actually lost here is what every business analyst misses when they tell this story. Blockbuster was never really about movies. It was about the conversation in the car on the way there. The negotiation in the aisle between people who wanted different things. The stranger who leaned over and said, "Trust me, that one is incredible." The staff member who knew your taste better than you did. It was the experience of being undecided, standing in front of hundreds of choices with no algorithm pushing you anywhere and making a decision together with the people you loved. You cannot stream that. You cannot personalize your way to it. You cannot recreate it with a better recommendation engine. And that is why 20 years after the collapse, people do not just feel nostalgia when they think about Blockbuster. They feel grief, real genuine grief, not for the store, but for the version of themselves that existed inside it, for the people they were with, for the Friday nights that felt like they would last forever and didn't. So here is where we stand. 9,000 stores, 60 million customers, $6 billion in revenue, brought down not by bad luck, but by arrogance. By a board of directors that fired the one man whose plan was actually working. By a $40 late fee that inspired the man who made them obsolete. By one meeting, one laugh, one decision that changed everything. Netflix offered them the future for $50 million. They laughed. Today, Netflix is worth $280 billion. And Blockbuster, the entire global empire, exists in exactly one building, in Bend, Oregon, where people still drive hundreds of miles just to feel something they cannot name. Drop a comment right now. What was the last movie you ever rented from Blockbuster? I have a feeling this comment section is about to become the most nostalgic place on the internet. If this video brought back a memory, share it with someone who lived those Friday nights with you. And the next brand that vanished is already waiting for you. I will see you in the next one.